Now let's catch up from where we left. So let's have a quick discussion about audit. So what this audit is all about, right? So I have already informed you the need to have an auditor. But now let's discuss it in the detail and we will be able to understand everything in the better, in the better way. So now what is the whole scenario looks like? That the company is being invested, the company shares are being bought by the shareholders of the company, right? So the shareholders of the company are purchasing the shares of the company, but who is managing the affairs of the company is, they are being called as directors of the company. And directors are also preparing the financial statements of the company, right? Now, financial statements of the company include 5 components. That includes statement of financial position, statement of P&L, statement of cash flow, statement of changes in equity, and disclosure notes. But the financial statements that have been produced by the directors of the company, shareholders are unable to trust that because of the pure sure reason that directors are invested in the company because they want to take the salary, bonus, and commission. So they doubt the integrity of the financial statement that has been produced by the directors of the company. So that is why the shareholders of the company are not so sure that whether the financial statements that have been produced by directors of the company are not manipulative in nature. So that is why they want one external to come and give them, a support and pat on their back that everything is fine. So that is why they basically expect someone from the outside who is independent, who is not, dependent on the directors of the company, who's not related to company in any way. They want that person to come in, and especially when they're knowledgeable, they are professionally competent, and to read the financial statement, and at the end to pat the back of the shareholders that everything is fine, that the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatements. Financial statements present true and fair view. Financial statements, present true and fair view, and financial statements have been prepared in accordance with applicable FRF. So what does all of this mean? So that means that the shareholders expect someone knowledgeable to come into this organization and to audit the financial statements of the company, right? So they want them to, they want them to come and audit the financial statements of the company. They want a knowledgeable independent person to come in, the one who is professionally competent to basically read the financial statements, and they are really good with it. They can, read the financial statements really well. They're well versed with it, right? So that is why they wanted to, want someone to come, and that one person is being called as auditor of the financial statement. So auditor of financial statements, what do they do is they primarily, they audit the financial statements of the company. So what auditors are doing? Yeah. Auditors are basically auditing the financial statements of the company. So they will be, auditing the financial statements of the company. And by the end, they are going to issue an auditor's report, which will be addressed towards the shareholders of the company. So they will be preparing an auditor report that will be addressed toward the shareholders of the company. So they will be, giving an assurance that financial statement as a whole are free from material mistake. So what do they write it? That the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement. That is due to fraud or error. Financial statements have been prepared in accordance with applicable FRF. Financial statements present true and fair view. Financial statements in all material respect have been prepared in accordance with applicable FRF. So that is what is the pat at the back is given by the auditor of the company to the shareholders of the company. So now let's narrate the story again. Are they not scared? So now when someone gets scared, when they're investing into the company, they will no longer be scared because they know that their interest will be protected by the auditors of the company. So a lot of times when they think that, and now what is the role and responsibility of the auditor looks like? So a lot of times, when we ask a lot of participants and students talking about audit, and we ask them, a lot of things, and we ask them, so what do you think auditors do? They say that, auditors read the financial statement. So first of all, the first myth has to be broken up, broken up. That is that whether the auditor of the financial statement, auditors of the company, are they preparing the financial statements? No. So financial statements are being prepared by directors, and auditors never do that. Okay. So auditors never prepare the financial statements of the company. That's the very first thing that you need to understand. So auditors are never preparing the financial statements of the company. The financial statements of the company are being prepared by the directors of the company. So what auditors primarily do is the auditors read the financial statements because they're really well versed with it, and they properly plan the audit, perform the audit, complete the audit, and then prepare the auditor's report. They address it to the shareholders of the company if there were any manipulations that they have found in the audit during the course of audit. And even if they have found anything fraud or error during the course of audit, they first of all inform the management of the company that these were the frauds that have been located, and we want you to change them. Yeah, we want to make the changes in the financial statements of the company. So this chance is also given to the directors of the company. So what auditors primarily do? Auditors do not prepare the financial statements of the company. That's one thing that you have to understand, right? So auditors are not responsible for the preparation and presentation of financial statements. The second thing that you need to understand, a lot of times, people think, a lot of participants and students think that auditors can find all the frauds in the financial statements of the company. So there are so many frauds in the financial statements of the company that have been, tripped up by the directors of the company, right? So the directors are always involved with the daily affairs of the company, and they might have done, some sort of frauds, and they've tried to manipulate those frauds in the financial statements of the company. Now, what a general student expects is, now when any layman or an outsider will be expecting is that this person has gone, now they will be able to find everything. For example, let's take an example of CBI. CBI, we expect that they will be during the course of their investigation, they will be able to find everything possible, but there are chances that they might also miss on few things, because the things are so diligently curated, and diligently they have been hidden, right? So they are not able to find it. The same ways directors are also the auditors of the financial statements are also the same way. They might they will always be able to look for the fraud. They will able to be definitely be वो ढूंढ लेंगे, वो ढूंढ पाएंगे, but there are chances that they might also miss on. Now what do we say is that you have to be professionally competent when you take up an audit, right? So अगर आप professionally competent नहीं हो तो आप audit को accept नहीं करोगे. That's the first thing that you have to understand. You have to be professionally competent when you're accepting an audit. For example, एक auditor आते हैं, and that auditor is, for example, let's assume 15 years old auditor, and really professionally competent, and they have performed the audit in all the possibly big companies and all the listed companies, right? Now this person is also auditing another company, right? Now, this person, this chartered accountant, this auditor is unable to find for frauds. Okay. So this auditor could not find a fraud because this was so minutely hidden that they could not find it. Because, the financial statements of the company are being prepared by the directors, and they take years to, to hide this fraud. But director, जो auditor होता है, वो 2-3 महीने में audit करके complete कर देते हैं. So auditors are only auditing for 2 to 3 years, 2 to 3 months. तो वो 2 to 3 months के स्पैन में नहीं, मे बी पॉसिबिलिटी है कि नहीं मिला उसको. सो यहाँ पर आप ऑडिटर को लाइबल नहीं कर सकते. यू कैन नॉट प्लेस देम रिस्पॉन्सिबल बिकॉज दे हैव डन एवरीथिंग पॉसिबल टू मेक श्योर दैट दे आर एबल टू फाइंड ऑल द फ्रॉड्स एंड एरर्स. बट नहीं मिला तो कोई बात नहीं, राइट? Because they have done everything possible, sufficient and appropriate audit evidence is here. They were professionally competent when they were auditing the financial statements of the company. They were, due diligence पूरा लगाया उन्होंने, due care पूरा दिया. Professionally उन्होंने सारा, the professional behavior was taken care of. So everything was taken care of. So that is why we will call that, यहाँ पर fraud नहीं मिला तो चलेगा. But for example, new auditor आते हैं, I've just qualified chartered accountancy, I've just become an auditor, and I'm auditing the financial statements of the company, which otherwise, if professionally competent, maybe 10 to 15-year-old auditor would have been able to find, तो मुझे liable, I will be called as liable. But यहाँ पर in other case, it will not be the case, right? So हम यहाँ पे क्या समझेंगे? So what do you need to understand? That in the case of fraud, generally we are expecting that everything is, okay, right? So generally we expect auditors will be able to, find out all the frauds, but there are some frauds which are very minutely hidden, right? तो वो frauds अगर नहीं भी ढूंढ पाते auditor, that's also very fine. But the auditor has to be professionally competent when they are performing the audit. अगर competent नहीं हो तो better not accept the audit. Along with that, a lot of people from the outside also expect, right? So वो expect करते हैं कि auditors जो हैं वो absolute assurance देते हैं, whereas auditors do not give you absolute assurance, auditors give you reasonable assurance. अब इसके बारे में समझते हैं why auditors are giving you reasonable assurance and why auditors are not giving you absolute assurance. Now let's assume about, a thing. This is auditing the financial statements of the company which have already been prepared. So historical financial statements. Historical means that something that has happened in the past. So the year has already passed by. Last year ho chuka hai, uske financial statements ban chuke hain, and now we are auditing it. So something that has already happened in the past. For example, if anyone asks me, ma'am, at what time did you get up? So for example, I might be able to say, I will be able to say that I got up at 7:30. And if someone asks me that, are you sure that you got up 7:30? I'll say, yeah, I think so. I got up 7:30. Maybe I got up at 7:20 or 7:35. I'm not so sure about it. Something that just happened a day back, and I'm not so sure about that. And even I did that. I am solely, wholly and solely responsible for that. तभी मैं उसके ऊपर absolute, assurance नहीं दे सकती हूँ कि क्या हुआ था, right? So if I have, for example, cameras over there, so I can say, I came home at 10:30. I will be able to say like, maybe 10:30, 10:35. So I will be able to check in the camera. I will be able to say 10:32 PIT. Okay, clear. But now when auditors are auditing the financial statements of the company, they know that directors were involved and they were responsible for the preparation and presentation of financial statement. Along with that, directors जो हैं वो पूरा साल रहे, they were responsible for all the operations of the company. Now, auditors are coming into this company when the financial statements of the company have already been prepared. सब बन गया है. Now, I'm diligently planning the audit, performing the audit, completion and review. सब कुछ मैं कर रही हूँ. But there is benefit of doubt that I might be, missing on something. So there are chances कि आप कुछ miss on कर लोगे. For that particular reason, we always say that the auditors will not be able to issue absolute assurance. Rather, auditors issue reasonable assurance. So auditors absolute assurance नहीं देते हैं. Rather, auditor reasonable assurance देते हैं. That the financial statements have been prepared in accordance with applicable FRA. वो बताएंगे financial statements have been prepared or have not been prepared. अगर कोई qualification है matter का, तो सब कुछ वहां पर बताते हैं. So that's what you need to understand. So now what do you need to understand is that the auditors are going to generate the auditor report of the company. So now जब auditor report बनाएंगे, so when auditor होते क्या है, what do they do and how this entire plan and course of action runs is something, let's understand it. Now once there was a need to have an auditor, so अब यहाँ पर हमें सबको पता चल चुका है that we need to have an auditor, right? So directors of the company are going to approach, or the auditors are going to directly approach, and there has to be the exactly auditors को बहुत सारी they have to make a lot of effort when they are about to start with the audit of financial statements of the company. So they have to really check on everything, that are we knowledgeable enough, क्या मैं professionally competent रहूंगी. For example, I'm a one man show, I'm one person, and if I'm being asked to audit Infosys company, can I do it? I might be really competent, but I cannot single-handedly audit the Infosys company. If I'm being, if I have a team of 500 people, then I might be able to say that I will be able to audit Infosys company, right? So I might be professionally competent, but I have to see that whether I am professionally competent for this company, right? Do I have, requisite resources with me? Am I being, paid enough? मेरे को सही से फीस मिल रही है कि नहीं? After considering all these factors, integrity maintain ho paegi during the course of audit because I have to be knowledgeable. I have to justify to the shareholders of the company that I am independent from this company. So I have to check that whether I will be able to maintain my integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, professional behavior. If I will be able to maintain everything, then I have to see that whether there is any threat, including if there is any familiarity threat, if I have any trust in this company, self-interest threat, if I have a review threat, self-review threat, advocacy threat, or intimidation threat. I'll check for all the threats, and if I am really sure that this is the good time to go ahead with this company, then only auditor will say yes to this company. So once auditor has said yes to this company, now they have to shake hands with each other, right? So agar auditor is, has finalized that, yes, I will be able to audit the financial statements of the company. Now they have to shake hands with the directors of the company. Yes, they're good to go. And that's when the audit engagement letter will be signed. Audit engagement letter जो होता है वो sign किया जाता है. And who is going to sign this audit engagement letter? So audit engagement letter is kind of a contract between the auditors of the company and directors of the company, because auditors are really relying on the directors of the company, because directors are supposed to provide them the financial statements of the company. Directors are responsible for providing any, sufficient and appropriate audit evidences, whatever required during the course of the audit. So jitne bhi invoices, jitne bhi file information, books, जो भी चाहिए होगा, that has to be provided to the auditors of the company. Everything that is being required by the auditors of the company has to be given by the directors of the company. So that is why they draft a contract, so that in the future they do not have any sort of a conflict of interest, right? So that is why audit engagement letter is, kind of a contract that is being prepared by the auditors of the company. That is being prepared by the auditors, right? Audit firm से ये बनकर आता है, and that is being hand over to the directors of the company. And कोई ना कोई, director जो होगा, हमारा head होगा, उसको वो sign कर देंगे, and that is how this becomes as the contract. इसको देख भी लेते हैं. So now when the people are really scared, the shareholders are scared, they are angry, they're furious. So basically they're expecting for a person who is knowledgeable, independent, and is also professionally competent. Now they have found this angel, and this angel is being called as the auditor. Auditors आ गए हैं यहाँ पर. Now auditors आ गए हैं यहाँ पर, और उसके बाद यहाँ पर ये sign करने वाले audit engagement letter. Audit engagement letter will be, issued to the audit engagement letter. कौन issue करेगा? Auditor, audit firm issue करेगी. किसको issue करेगी? Directors को issue करेगी. और उसके बाद after reading everything, directors are going to sign here. तो यहाँ पे कौन sign करेगा? Directors यहाँ पर उसको sign करके देंगे, and formally ये agreement बन जाएगा. So once all of this is done, तो यहाँ पर सब कुछ ये जब done हो गया, तो उसके बाद यहाँ पर that, then auditors are going to start with the audit, right? So अब उसके बाद auditors जो हैं वो start करेंगे auditors, audit. So now auditors are going to start with the audit, and the auditors are going to first of all plan the audit, then perform the audit, right? So जैसे हम करते, for example, if I have to give an exam, I have to first of all plan for the things that, that how am I going to do it, then perform it, and then उसके बाद finally I will be making the completion and review. ठीक है? So completion and review होगा, and उसके बाद once everything has been done, after this, at the end, auditor report which will be issued. And auditor report कैसे होंगे? Auditor report will be prepared by the auditors of the company, and that will be addressed to the shareholders of the company. That's kind of a pat on the back, and they will be issuing their opinion there, right? So auditors are going to express their opinion in the financial statement, that whether they think that financial statements have been prepared in accordance with applicable FIF or not, or whether financial statements present true and fair view or not. And there can be different opinions, and auditors have the choice of 4 opinions. So out of 4 opinion, वो कोई भी एक opinion जो है वो उसके अंदर draft कर सकते हैं. That we are going to discuss it in the future as well. अब planning के अंदर क्या होता है? So how are auditors going to plan the audit, right? The auditors have to really look for the company, इसके अंदर बहुत सारे factors, matter करते हैं. What is the nature of this company? What are the regulating factors of this company? Regulatory, bodies कौन सी इस company के अंदर, internal controls कैसे हैं उस company के, financial performance कैसी है, business risk कैसे हैं, accounting policies and estimates कैसे हैं उसके. So they have to look for a lot of factors when they're planning for this company, because they have to really see that, how is this company performing. Because for example, and now let's assume, यहाँ पर हम basically बहुत सारे risk लेते हैं. For example, यहाँ पर let's assume there is a company, there's a grocery store, and then there is also a bank. For example, ये grocery store and bank are just adjacent to each other. We have, couple of people out there in the market. who are not, let's just leave the honesty wala pace at, at our back. We are not going to consider the honesty wala pace, right? So whether people are honest or not, everyone is here to loot, right? So ab yahan par kya hota hai, 10 minutes hai and there are no security guards, there is no control. Where are going, people going to go, and they are going to try and, take the money out. Are they going to go to the grocery store and try to, take the biscuits and chocolates out, or they're going to go to the bank and take out a lot of money? So think about it. Where will I go first, right? मैं बैंक जाऊंगी, ठीक है? Where will I go first? Will I be going to the bank or will I be going to the grocery store? Definitely, I will be going to the bank. For example, I'm going to loot a lot of money. Maybe, let's assume $100,000 I've taken out from the bank. मैं बहुत सारे, I might be even able to purchase everything that is, that is kept over the grocery store. Grocery store में क्या दो चार चीजें लेकर आ जाऊंगी. But in the bank, I can take out a lot of stuff, right? So we have to look for a lot of factors when we are, planning for the audit of the company. What the regulations are, what the nature of an, activities are, what is the environment looks like, what are the regulating factors are. So all these factors are to be considered when we are planning the audit. So now we are going to discuss it in a detail, what the planning of an audit looks like. So I will be seeing you now in the next session. So stay tuned with me, guys. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Take care, everyone.